Hi guys, so I'm back with a new video and let's talk about Don't Breathe 2. So we're in this season of remakes and sequels and reboots and all of that. Of course, they had to do Don't Breathe 2, which is interesting because I'll get into it more later, but this sequel doesn't follow straight after the first one, and yeah, that was odd. I can't say I was super excited about this movie. Like, I really liked the first one, and I actually rewatched it recently just because I felt like it. But this franchise, I don't think this can be a franchise yet, and I don't think it will be. But this franchise, I'll just say that isn't my favorite, but it has an aspect that it's one of my favorite subgenres of horror, which is the home invasion. The first film is really basically just a home invasion, so I liked it. But the second one has a different premise, so I wasn't super excited about it. But yeah, let's get into it so I can talk more about what I thought about the movie. First things first, what this movie is about. So Don't Breathe 2, as I said, follows a different premise, but it has the same basis. Now this one follows the blind man, and now he lives with a little girl. He has a little girl, and again a group of guys break into his house, and everything goes from there. I'm trying not to spoil anything because if you know a lot about the movie, it might be a little predictable. The movie stars the same blind man, Stephen Lang, but it also stars Brandon Sexton III, Madeline Grace, and Stephanie Arcilla. I hope I'm pronouncing everyone's name right. And yeah, let's just get into my thoughts on the movie. I'm gonna say that this is a fairly good sequel. It's not as good as the first one in my opinion, but it's not bad either. If I had to compare these two, Escape Room 2 that just came out a few weeks ago, this is so much better than Escape Room 2. This one is almost at the same level as first movie, as the original Don't Breathe. It just isn't, because they tried to make the story a little bit more complicated. The first one, as I said, it's just a group of kids, not really kids, teenagers, young adults. Yeah, just a group of friends that break into this guy's house. And yeah, while this one, Don't Breathe 2, it isn't as heavy on the home invasion thing, which is a downfall for me. Those aspects, following someone trying to escape another person, is really interesting to me. I really like home invasion movies, and this movie strays away from that a little bit. I would say it's half home invasion, half a thriller, I would say. So yeah, they tried to make it a little bit more complicated, and I think the other one is better because it's a bit more simple, and I think I prefer that. However, there's a few things that I really enjoyed about this movie. Even though the story, as I said, it's a bit not really complicated, it just has more elements to it. It's not as straightforward. It is interesting but predictable at the same time. It's not that I saw things coming, it's more they weren't that surprising. They were in the middle. I was okay, that is happening. It's not the best thing, but I can understand. everything makes sense. I'm gonna say that, like, everything that happens for a reason, and it has like a good flow, I would say. So that's a good thing. I also really enjoyed the nods that they did to the first one. There's like one or two scenes that I saw that they were like really similar to some scenes in the first one, and I liked that. I liked like the nods to the first one. I also really enjoyed the cinematography. Like, cinematography, at first glance it looks like normal, I would say, like middle ground, but there's like some really interesting tracking shots and one takes, which I love. I'm a sucker for that. The color grading is also really nice. It fits the vibe. So yeah, there's interesting things. There's like, they let you understand things. They don't over explain stuff, and I would even go as far as saying they don't explain things, and that is nice. They don't think the audience is dumb, and that is nice. I like that. But there's one thing that just didn't really sit right with me, which is the fact that they try to make you sympathize with the bad guy, like the blind man, and I just couldn't do it. I get it, that is like the thing that connects the first one to this one, but when you know what he did in the first one, I just couldn't forgive him. And I'm just gonna say that the only person I was rooting for was the little girl. She was not really annoying, but yeah, I wasn't really vibing with her at times. But yeah, I was rooting for her, and I just couldn't forgive the blind man for everything that he did in the previous movie. So yeah, there's that. To finish it off, I'm just gonna tell you to not watch the trailer if you haven't yet. It's not that it reveals stuff like about the story. It's more that it has some really iconic moments in there, like the trailer shows you some really cool scenes, and then you'll be waiting for those scenes. I know I was. There's one particular scene that I just loved in the trailer, and that scene happens towards the end of the movie. So I was expecting that, I was waiting for that to happen, and yeah, that takes you a little bit out of the movie because you know that that scene is coming, so you're just waiting for it. But it also happened with a few other scenes, so yeah, just a warning. I would recommend not watching the trailer, but I would recommend you rewatching the previous movie because of the nods that this one has to the previous one. Because I think if I haven't watched it recently, I wouldn't catch those nods. So yeah, don't watch the trailer, but rewatch or watch the first one. So yeah, in the end, I think this is a decent sequel. It's not as good as the first one in my opinion, but I do think it is gorier than the previous one. The gore in this is like pretty good, and they're not afraid to show it to you, like show stuff. There's one scene in the end that was like really shocking, and they didn't stop filming, so I was like really uncomfortable watching it, but I was enjoying it at the same time. I liked that they weren't afraid to show you the gore. I would go as far as saying that this has more gore than the new Saw movie, Spiral. So yeah. Okay, now that I said everything I had to say, let's get into my scores. So overall, I give the movie a 3 out of 5. As I said, not as good as the first one. I think I gave it a 3.5, but not a bad sequel. It has some interesting things. It has interesting kills and chase throughout the house. So yeah, it has some good things going for it. A bit cliche and predictable at times, but overall it's enjoyable. Cinematography, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It's not as artistic as other movies, but it has some really interesting camera work that I'm just a sucker for it. And originality, I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Like, in the middle. It's not super original because it follows sort of the same premise, adds a few elements that aren't that original either, but it does have some like original camera work, original kills. It takes some risks in some stuff, so it's like in the middle. So yeah guys, these are my thoughts on Don't Breathe 2. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie. Did you like it more than the first one? Let me know which one you prefer. Let me know what you thought of the ending, because it's interesting, because it takes some risks as well. And let me know if you caught like the nods to the first one. And yeah, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I'll see you in my next video.